Today's guest is Shai Burzynski, an emerging leader whose journey is shaped by resilience, humility, and a deep commitment to people. With experience across nonprofit, manufacturing, and healthcare, Shai brings a grounded, servant-hearted approach to leadership. As People Services Director at UW Health Rehabilitation Hospital, they're not just building culture, they're living it. Shai leads with empathy, listens deeply, and is not afraid to grow out loud. If you've ever wrestled with how to lead while still becoming, this episode is for you. Welcome, relational leaders and listeners. This is Cultivate, your podcast destination where we celebrate thriving relational leaders and encourage each other along the influence journey. I am Wendy F. Adams, your host and strategic guide. I believe work shouldn't be a four-letter word, but should inspire, challenge, and fulfill. Through a high challenge and high support model, we will explore the recipe for relational leadership that drives meaningful change. After all, as leaders, we're either driving progress or we're driving the problem. So let's grow together. Welcome back to a fresh episode of Cultivate. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming Shai Burzynski, People Services Director with UW Health Rehabilitation Hospital. She's an emerging and resilient leader who leads out loud. Shai, I am thrilled to have you join us for the Cultivate Experience.
So excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
I have had the pleasure, of having conversation. We've been in the green room. And I know a little bit more about you and what that looks like in your why space. Every leader has that why. And so I want the audience to right from the beginning jump in. What's one small, significant, everyday moment from your leadership life that reminds you why culture actually matters?
I love that. And right now it's actually our 9 a.m. operations meetings at my current workplace at UW Health. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m., we get the management team together to talk about what's going on. What is our facility at? What are people feeling? How are people doing? Celebrating the wins in the world of rehab, being able to see people come in from various different traumatic states to being able to walk out of the building is absolutely phenomenal and life-changing. So learning about those stories and being able to remind employees that we are able to do this amazing work because of you. And that, and I will probably say this a lot, has helped to humble me as a leader, has helped me to ask the questions that actually make an impact on the people that I have the privilege of serving. And it all comes together, I feel like, to make me a more resilient leader, to learn about the people in my community who are showing up for themselves and their families every day.
Wow, that is powerful. And I love, Shai, that you stepped right into that space of telling the story. Here, asking the question to be able to learn more of who you're working with and tying that directly to the why of the organization, the why of those you serve, right from the beginning. Everyone's got a story, and how do we tie that story together for those who may not even know that they may not need the services today, but when they do, or if they do, or if they know someone, it's the story that's going to tie them back. When you say the humility in, because it takes that space of being vulnerable to be able to not only ask about someone's story, but of course to share your own. Thank you for starting us off in such a powerful way. We know here at the Cultivate Experience, relational leadership, right? It's at the core of everything we talk about, and it's grounded in what you've already opened up the door: self-awareness, authenticity, being that vulnerable space. Your journey spans everything from nonprofit, manufacturing, and now you're in the healthcare space. What thread ties all of those chapters together for you as a people first leader?
Oh, that's such a great question. And really, it comes down to understanding what each person needs, right? In each sector that I've worked in, I found that people have a different reason why they want to show up for work. For some people, it's passion, right? They want to love what they do, and that drives them to come in each and every day. For others, they want to have that paycheck that allows them to do the things that matter to them outside of work, right? And for others, they love the challenge. They want to learn and grow and become the best version of themselves. And at the beginning of my career, this is vulnerable for me to share, but I think it's worth sharing. At the beginning of my career, I thought, well, everyone should be extremely passionate about the work that they do. And I tried, especially when I worked in manufacturing at the beginning of my HR career, well, if you're not passionate, why are you here? And I realized that I was very, very naive in thinking that no matter the reason that we show up to work, we're here. And how can we make that experience the best it can possibly be? And a huge part of that is actually having conversations with the people who are doing the work at all levels of the organization, not just at the supervisor, management, or leadership level, but our entry level employees. What brings you here? What kind of work do you like to do? What inspires you? What motivates you? And getting to the core of not just that employee, but that person. And that honestly has helped me become a more resilient leader because I learn so much. And I find that when people are asked about themselves genuinely, not just, hi, how are you, but
Mm.
how'd you sleep last night? You know, um, I can I can see that there's something that's bothering you. Do you want to talk about it? That opens up the opportunity for relational leadership to actually do what it's meant to do. Create that relationship, create that mutual understanding of, hey, we're here to support one another. And whether it's manufacturing, whether it's nonprofit, whether it's healthcare, everyone wants to be heard. Everyone wants to be supported. And it's finding out how best to do that and then to share and reiterate with leadership the importance of that over and over again. It's a never ending conversation. And I believe that it's beautiful because of that, to be honest.
Well, and I think it's beautiful the way that you shared that, right? Even and where you started, vulnerability and saying, "Hey, this is the way I thought." And you're not alone in that space. Of course, right? You're coming to work every day because if we say you're not passionate, does that mean you think it's drudgery? Well, no. But we can assign those feelings and thoughts. What you're saying is, I've got to create a space in my role as a people empowerment leader to say, I see you, I hear you, and I'm going to be curious to ask why. You're digging in to say what is your why, and everyone's why is different, and that passion actually can be defined differently, right? Where you and I, our passion for the work may look very exuberant. Someone can be passionate about what they're doing and be very quiet in that space, but detailed in the way and take much pride in how they're getting the work done and how they work side by side. So I think that that's really important for us to remember is the individual. And that takes us from that space of just looking at the tasks that need to be done, right? We can look at that IQ space. Does that person have the skills and overlook, again, you've got to have high EQ, right? To say, hey, I see something different. You are an individual, and then making sure that how you yourself are walking in, have you as that leader created a space where they're going to give you an honest answer, where you don't just live in the space of the surface. That for me, you've said it in our conversation, and I know we're going to bring this out, and you've even touched on it already, is where your passion and how you walk out servant leadership, which can become very much a buzz term and a buzzword, right?
Mhm.
But it's important for you, and you've said it, that how you lead is rooted and grounded in this aspect of servant leadership. But what does that look like beyond the words? What does that look like to put it in practice? Is there a moment that you would love to share with us where you had to learn that the hard way?
Oh, I love that you asked this. So for me, servant leadership is all about empowerment, realizing that I am leading from behind. My goal is to ensure
Mm,
that those that I serve are able to walk in front of me. And they know that if ever anything happens, if they fall, I am there to catch them. With that, oh, yes, there are definitely lots of instances where I've learned that the hard way. One in particular, at a previous employer at a nonprofit I worked at, we were merging with another organization.
Mm,
And as the HR director of that organization, I was in charge of the people. So, not just making sure that our benefits aligned, our handbooks aligned, our policies aligned, but ensuring that people were informed about the changes that were happening and they felt supported along the way. And so I can say that the leadership team of that organization was absolutely phenomenal as far as their intent goes, and mine as well. Our intent was to ensure that the employees who were on the other side of the merger felt like they were informed, that we were being transparent, and that they were able to come to us with their concerns. And so
hmm
I thought that I was doing a really, really great job at being able to articulate what was changing and why, leaving room for questions. The positive, the good intent was definitely there. But there was one conversation that I had with 5 members of their leadership team, and they asked me if I felt anything for the people who are going through these changes.
mm,
And it struck me because, as I was saying, the intent was there of, yes, I care a lot, and I'm showing you that I care a lot, but my actions and my words were not matching my intent with how they were feeling. And in that moment, I realized I was not focusing on the human part. I thought that I was, but my actions and my words were not translating the way that I needed them to. I was very humbled by that experience. I apologized to them and said,
mm,
I do feel for all of you. I've been on the opposite side of this before. And so coming into this, wanted to make sure that you all did not feel the way that I did. I actually cried in that meeting because it hit so hard for me because there were things that were missed and I missed the human piece. And they, by asking me that one question, allowed me to bring my full vulnerable self to them and be more open and honest than I ever had been in my professional career. And that grew our relationship, I kid you not, 100-fold afterwards. For them to be able to see that, yes, I am a person too. I did not come into this perfect by any means, but that I want to learn and I do sincerely want to be able to support them. And we actually cried together, all 6 of us. And it's, there's sometimes I feel embarrassed to share that, but at the same time, I feel like it allowed us to grow closer. It allowed us to rely on one another moving forward because there was that trust there, that understanding that with this change, it is vast and it is challenging. And there are people who had worked for the same company for 30 years who are now going to be a part
mm.
of another organization. And that is something that me, with my 8 years of experience at the time, could not possibly fully understand. And so humbling myself to know and realize that I could sympathize with their experiences, but I would not be able to empathize because of the depth of experiences
Yeah.
that they've had. And that allowed me to center the person, the human, and all of the conversations that I have and realize that my intent may be one thing, but I need to check in with that other party to understand, are my actions and are my words aligning with my intent, and being open and honest about that.
Wow. Wow. And I just want to say, I don't want to brush by how much I appreciate you, even in this moment, sharing with many leaders, right? Those who are going to engage with this conversation, who are thinking, Can we really do that? Can servant leadership really be something that I practice and it not, let me just say it, come back to bite me? Right.
Yes.
And is that going to show a weakness? Is it going to be something that's taken advantage of? And you're saying, you know what? I had to take that chance because I had to live out what it is that I say that I believe. And what were you able to experience? I mean, those tearful moments, you did know those could have been different tears, Shy. That could have gone a different way. And what you were able to recognize is, well, the human factor and putting that first. Processes are important, but we can't put process over people. Right. And to your point, you were walking through and making sure that the boxes were checked and things weren't missed. And in the midst of that, the biggest thing was missed. And that was the people, and taking a moment of pause to say, wait a minute, how do you feel? And to your point, there's a difference between empathy and sympathy. Both are important. And we got to recognize, hey, I haven't walked in your shoes, but I do understand. And gosh, it goes so far to own that space and to say, hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let's take a step back. So I appreciate what you did in that moment, but to then continue to help us all learn and to give some real practical meat that we can hold on to on servant leadership. And that, yeah, we know we learn in the hard and the messy. And that's the conversations we want to make sure are happening here, so others know it's okay. It is more than okay to show that space. And then what do we learn from? Because that experience didn't stay there with you, Shy. Now, those that you're leading, those that you are shoulder to shoulder with, they get the benefits of you walking through that hard moment. You have walked through, right? Multiple organizational systems. We just talked about processes. What challenges, and there may be one that just really stands out that you are like, ooh, this tested my resilience in a significant way. But in that space of testing your resilience, what also couples to help you stay grounded in staying the course of people over process?
Yes. Honestly, with the current organization, I'm at UW Health Rehab Hospital. We are going through a major technological change, switching to some new
Mm,
enterprise resource systems and new ways of timekeeping, new ways of getting problems resolved. So it's not, oh, hey, I have this IT issue. Would you mind, helping me with this? It's submitting a ticket, right? Or there was an issue with my pay. How can I fix this? Okay, well, let's submit a ticket. And so, of course, understanding the reason behind that, being able to create useful reporting, that side of it, I completely understand. But with that, right, when there are delays to our employees getting paid, that affects their livelihoods, right?
hmm
And being able to find out as a new employee, as well as someone in my role, how can we support our people during this changing time? Right. And a part of that is making sure I have all of the information that I need and going out and asking the right questions
mm,
and sharing that with my leadership team as well as the employees, but being able to advocate for employees who are not able to do so themselves. And that piece has definitely tested my resilience of, hey, we have this issue that has been going on for about 3 weeks now, and it's not been resolved. What can we do? Who else can I bring this issue to ensure that this employee is able to get their paycheck? And these issues, of course, are not just with my organization. Whenever there is a large change with technology, there's bumps along the road, and that tests anyone's resilience, I would argue. But especially as a person centered leader working in people services, trying to make sure that I'm knowledgeable, the people I serve are knowledgeable, and that along with that, there's advocacy for the employees to make sure that they're not forgotten about and they're not missed in a time where Everyone is busy. Everyone is constantly reprioritizing. How can I ensure that I continue to advocate for the people that I support? And that has been wonderful, especially when there are issues where, we've been working hard for 3 weeks and then finally we get it resolved, we get it fixed, and the smiles on the employees' faces to know, thank you for advocating for me. Thank you for ensuring that, my voice was heard, my needs are met in this way. And that's something, I mean, even last week, even this week, still going through and experiencing that. So it's bittersweet being able to build up that resilience, but also being able to cultivate those relationships by sharing with the people I serve. I'm here for you, and I will reach out for you, and I will not stop until this is resolved.
Well, it could be, and you and I had this conversation earlier, right? As far
Mhm.
as the tech and
Yes.
how much sometimes it feels like it's trying to take over, but we
Right.
know it's a necessary tool, right?
Mhm.
And what you said is like the emphasis that needs to be placed on, hey, we're growing, and this is what we need in this growth space, but never to take over. Okay, yes, from the human beings who have to use these tools, and how does it affect them? How does this new and again the bumpiness along the way, that it's not just, hey, this is what we need, so everybody's got to get on board and let's just keep pushing through. Well, we do have to keep moving through, but we need to do this together, because
Mhm.
we're this is only going to be as strong as the person who's the most challenged in it. So let me pause and like you said, continue to advocate for. I truly hear, and we started the conversation this way, this is you and your leadership building a culture that's worth believing in, right? You've used the term exemplary culture. And so I want you to let the audience in on, what does that mean to you? How do you know when you're building it versus when you're just talking about an exemplary culture?
Honestly, you hear laughter. That's a huge, huge part of
Ah, I
it.
love it.
Yes, especially working in healthcare. And the team here, they work so hard on helping people regain their livelihoods, regain their strength, both mentally and physically. So when I'm going down the hall and I'm hearing employees laughing with one another, when I'm in meetings and everyone's cracking up laughing because we enjoy being around one another. We enjoy working together and collaborating together. We are doing amazing
Mm,
things and laughing at the same time. And I found in environments I've been in previously where there was a lack of laughter, there was a lack of trust. I've
mm,
realized growing up professionally that with laughter, genuine laughter, um, there's vulnerability attached to it, especially in professional spaces, right? Is it okay for me to be able
yes.
to do this? Is this a correct response? But to be around others where you can joke around, together, where you trust one another that this is a safe space to be able to do that and to connect. Um, I found that with the same people I'm laughing with, there's going to be a situation that happens that, we might be tearing up together later on. But that we're building those relationships. We're becoming more comfortable with one another in that way, which allows us to rely on one another, depend on one another. And absolutely love when I have a new employee come through my door with an issue at the beginning. It might be a little bit heated because they're coming from a frustrated place, but by the end of it,
Mm-hmm.
we're laughing, we're joking together. Their issue is resolved, and they go off and they tell others about their experience, and then they bring others back with them. And that to me is just the foundation of all of it.
I love that as an indicator. I mean, a good belly laugh,
Hmm.
there's nothing like it. But when you just put that together in a professional sense and said, not only is it acceptable, but it's what you crave, right? It's what tells you that temperature, we're in a healthy place. And I mean, let's face it, we've heard laughter is the best medicine. So I think it goes hand in hand, right? So we're speaking to the whole person. But I haven't heard it spoken out that way. So I think we look at that now a little bit differently when we're like, okay, how did this conversation go? Well, was anybody laughing at the end? Were we able to be in that space of, like you said, that's vulnerable. That means trust has been really built there, and we're working in that space to continue to build trust. You've talked about, and you've got a wide tapestry of where your experience comes from. UW Health Rehabilitation Hospital is just the newest space that you're able to spread your wings and grow, and to continue to do servant leadership in a very intentional way. What's something specific? Can you give us a glimpse that you're doing now to shape this kind of culture that you've just described? It's a high demand post acute care, right? There's a lot of moving pieces that are there. What are you doing now to continue to shape that servant leadership culture in your team?
Really, it's understanding what our employees need and want.
Mm.
And a huge part of that is the celebrations that are coming up for us. And so, with the hard work that our employees do, it's important to me that they feel recognized for that. And so, we have our 10-year anniversary coming up next month in September.
Mm.
And then we also
Congrats.
have our annual rehabilitation week that's coming up. And so, working with employees across the organization to plan events and fun activities as a way to give back to our employees for all of the hard work that they do. And along with that, too, actually having, and I know that this is a term that's been used across HR for a while, but stay interviews of understanding what is the reason why folks love what they do here, and what are the things that we need to improve on. As a new employee, myself, relatively new, being able to understand what keeps people here, what do they feel like they need more of, what do they need to be able to see. And so far, I was able to have one of those conversations with a group of employees in one of our departments. And what I love so much about that conversation is that they felt like they were able to be open and honest about the things that they loved, about the recognition that they wanted to continue to receive, and how they wanted to be able to receive it. And being able to take that information back to leadership to say, hey, these are the things that I'm hearing. This is what, I recommend for the change that we need to make. This is the support that I'm looking to have from leadership in order to make this possible. And then how can we
Mm.
continue these conversations with others across the organization? And understanding and going into it and letting folks know at the beginning, I know that this is not going to be an easy conversation that we're having. I know that there are going to be parts of it that are going to be challenging, but I invite you to be open. I invite you to be candid, because without that candidness, change is not possible.
Wow. Well, you just defined or maybe redefined feedback for yeah, and how much that plays a pivotal part in developing that healthy culture, right? The culture that thrives is asking. I mean, I've got a close friend, colleague. Feedback is who always reminds. Feedback is a gift, right? It is that space of telling me what I need to hear, not necessarily maybe what I want to hear, but what I need
Mhm.
to hear for us to be able to continue to grow and to not just be surviving, but like again to have thriving culture. So I love it because I heard you say that from team, you're getting that from peers, you're having that feedback conversation with leadership, and I've got to be sure because we all been in that space that you're getting it from those you serve, your patients, the community, right? To be able so this feedback loop is going all the way around. And what I'm hearing from you is that's a critical component of having a culture that thrives and being in that space of health and true health and wellness. I can't believe our time is wrapping up here, but there is no way that we can end our time together without digging in just a little bit deeper. It as we talk about what we do as leadership, right? In leadership and what we're doing today. We know we can see some of the spaces obviously that we're making impact in. But we know that what we're doing today is got to outlive us, right? There's got to be this legacy component. So I want to hear from you. What advice would you offer to an emerging leader coming up behind you who wants to lead with empathy, but is surrounded by pressure to perform, right? And then we go back to that process versus people. What would you offer them as a leading guiding principle?
It helps to think about the young leaders in my family and myself as a young leader. And the advice, I think the best advice that I would give is trust yourself, offer grace to yourself,
Mm,
especially that when it's extremely challenging and you think that you can't offer grace, because the good is not perfect, and that's okay. That is what will help you shine brighter.
yes.
And listening to oneself in a sea of being told internally and externally that you need to perform and offering oneself grace along that, I believe leads to resilience.
Mm, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful and powerful. That's very impactful for us to not just hold on to and chew today, but what does that then look like again back in that practical space to be able to walk that out? Because again, it's what we're doing today, but what we're leaving for those who are coming behind us. And so with that, Shai, as we close out, what are you most hopeful? I mean, we're in a space right now in our world, in our working world, where there is a lot that we're challenged with, right? That we're walking through and trying to walk out in that resiliency space. When you look at where you are, where we are, what are you most hopeful about when it comes to the future of people cultivation and people empowerment?
That we do not forget that we need to rely on one another and not just technology to be successful. I absolutely love tech,
Wow.
especially with the background that I have, but we cannot use it alone. And too often we put ourselves in silos. And I think that technology can assist with that in the worst way. And so remembering that people work better together when we collaborate, when we trust one another, when we are vulnerable with one another, when we laugh with one another, that is when and where we can do our best work. And I see it every day in the work that I do. I know that it's out there. And my hope is that that continues.
Wow. Wow. Well, no better way to end our conversation than in that space and leaving us with that charge. I never want to leave our space and not give the audience a little bit of a flavor of yes, we talked about the work. Yes, we talked about the legacy, but a little bit more about the human, right? Sitting side by side with me here on the screen. So it's been a long day. It's been a long week. What's your favorite way to reset? What refills Shy's cup?
Oh, I love that. So I absolutely adore community theater. I love performing on stage. Surprise, surprise.
What?
So finding new ways to be involved in community theater, honestly, is my favorite way to reset and recharge. The kind of community that's built in that theater space of people who are just willing to go out of their comfort zones and to challenge themselves in that way on stage and off stage is phenomenal to me. So that's definitely the number one way that I fill my cup.
I love it. I wish we were closer because I can experience that live and in person, but you never know. You
You
never
never
know
know.
how that may come together. Okay. Music. So you're talking about the performing arts. Music is really important to me. If you had to pick one, and this is a tough one, genre of music that best fits your personality,
Oh, love that.
which one would that be? Yeah.
Hmm. All right. This is something that you probably haven't heard before. Japanese rock. I know.
No.
Japanese rock.
Really?
Yes, I've been a fan ever since I was a teenager, and it hits differently, especially when traditional Japanese instruments are used. And so you'll have the traditional Japanese instruments and then the drums and the electric guitar and the vocals. All of it is just absolutely phenomenal. And I think that describes me. I'm a pretty eclectic person. I love incorporating traditional with new and modern and progressive. I love speaking other languages. And so all of those combined, that would be me.
I love it. I love it. And that was right there. You were ready. That was not one you had to think of. And now, you know what? Now I got to go look it up. I got to go sample some of that and understand a little bit more. Well, I would be remiss, and this is one of my favorites, and it's so important. Favorite flavor of ice cream?
Oh, see, that's the hardest question of the day right there, Wendy.
How do we narrow it down?
Right? Exactly. Okay, so it's a combination. If I had to pick an all-time favorite, it would be matcha with black sesame with red beans and mochi rice balls added.
Wow. Well, if that doesn't describe Shai, because I can tell you for a fact that's the first time I've heard that one. That that's fantastic. Well, I hope that you get to enjoy that more often than not, because really just you describing it, I could see the joy. So that's fantastic. You know, Shai, you have filled our minds. You filled our cups. You've definitely stretched our hearts as you inspired us to reach for more today. As you talked about resilience and your authenticity in walking that out. And I just can't say thank you enough for just giving us a glimpse into your story of what that relational leadership journey, because that's what it is that you're on, looks like, and what that can look like for each of us. Your insights and the way that you invest in others are just truly impactful. So thank you for saying yes to being a part of the Cultivate experience.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Cultivate collaborators, you know that today it's a wrap. But remember, it's never over, because each of us brings our own special flavor to the mix of relational leadership. So until next time, let's keep stirring things up. Let's keep making an impact and continuing to be better together. Thanks, everyone. Before we sign off today, I want to send out huge appreciation to our listeners for tuning in. I hope you felt seen, heard, and inspired to level up your own leadership journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. And if you're ready to level up your leadership, connect with me at cultivateforgood.com. That's cultivate, FOR, good.com.